How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here, and in today's How to Get into Comic Books Today, we're going to cover Final Order Cutoff. We're going to go over everything you need to know about the Final Order Cutoff date versus the release date, and I'm also going to share some tools that I use to stay on top of what books are coming out. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel. We're going to go over some basics real quick about Final Order Cutoff, starting with the definition. And Final Order Cutoff is basically the pre-order date or the last date you have to let your shop or site know that you want a book. So the reason Final Order Cutoffs exist is because the publishers and distributors need to have some kind of an idea of how many books they need to print and distribute to the comic shops. So there is a date baked in a couple weeks before the release date of an issue, and they've set that as the due date for all pre-orders. So another way to look at Final Order Cutoff, or FOC, is it's the last day you have to place an order for a specific book. The other advantage of this is it lets your shop or site know that you are interested in that book, and they will order a copy just for you and have it ready for your pull box. So let me show you what I'm talking about. We're gonna go take a look at Google Calendar. To give you a visual of what I'm talking about, I've pulled up the calendar for May 2022. You will notice there's a few dates already on the calendar. The first one is the FOC, or Final Order Cutoff date, which is on the 2nd of May. And there's a few more dates down towards the bottom. We have a release day on the 25th and a second release day on June 1st. So what this means is the May 2nd is the final day you have to order a book that is coming out on May 25th or June 1st. Now I will say May 2nd is listed as the Final Order Cutoff date, but your shop or site that you use may have a date that's before that date, so you always want to make sure you are in sync with them and what their rules are. And if you're really interested in staying on top of everything that's coming out, you have to be looking at least 3 weeks in advance to see what is coming out. And you can think of this calendar as more of a rolling calendar, whereas May 9th would be the Final Order Cutoff date for the next weeks as well. Once you get the hang of this pattern, you can stay on top of all your books. Now there are several different resources you can use to stay on top of Final Order Cutoffs, and the one I usually start with is previewsworld.com. I'll have a link in the description down below directly to the Final Orders Due page, so you can check that out when you're ready. But the basic layout for this page is in the top right, you will see Orders Due By Date. That will tell you the final day you have to place orders, but again, team up with your shop or the site that you use to make sure that that date is the same for them, because likely it'll be a day or two before that date. You can also see this in the orange text underneath each of the comics down below under Orders Due. So if I wanted this book on my pull list, I would have to let my shop know before May 16th. They would place that order, the publisher would print the book, and the distributor would get it sent out to the shop. Then once June 8th comes, the shop would grab that book and put it on your pull. Now, Previews World is a great resource for knowing what's coming up next week, but if you want to look a couple months in advance, you need to check out League of Comic Geeks. League of Comic Geeks is a great resource, and I have a whole video dedicated to how to use that. I will link that down below and in the card up top. One disclaimer I have for Final Order Cutoff is sometimes you might put a book on your list that might be a ratio variant because all the details weren't released yet, depending on which source you use. So be careful about what kinds of books or variants or exclusives you are adding on Final Order Cutoff, because your shop might order them and they might be more than cover price. So always check with your shop to make sure the books you're ordering are the right ones. Another great resource is the Previews magazine that you can get at your shop, and it will show you what is coming out over the next few months. These preview magazines are great resources. Most shops should have them either cover price or free, depending on if you have a subscription with them. And it's a great way to flip through and see what the different publishers have coming out in the near future. You get a good sense of all the variants and covers that they have to offer. And it's a really great tactile way to flip through the book and see what is coming out in the future and what you might want to put on your pull. So some key tips to think about when considering Final Order Cutoff is use the tools you have to plan far in advance, at least a month in advance, I would say, to build those pull lists. And again, some of the tools I use is Google Calendar to stay up to date on Final Order Cutoff versus release date, Previews World to see what's coming out in the next week, and League of Comic Geeks to see what's coming out months in advance. But like I said, another great resource is the Previews magazine, so check those out at your shop if they offer them. Well, that about wraps up the basics on Final Order Cutoff. If anybody has any questions or additional tips around the topic, please put them down below, and don't forget to check out the League of Comic Geeks walkthrough I have down there as well. But as always, I appreciate you watching the video. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification to be alerted of future videos. I also do review videos, hauls, unboxings, and I go live a couple times a month. You don't want to miss those either. But thank you guys so much again. We'll see you in the comments.